Hmm. Uh, is it architecture or is it art? It's kind of one of those things that's kind of positioning itself in between because clearly the functionality is not crucial. And also, I don't think it looks very cool, but I would still like to probably go in and have a look and inspect it. Um, yeah, that's my first impression. Like if I saw that and you know, I would probably even if I didn't need to go into the bathroom, I'd probably go check it out. um, yeah, that's my first impression for now. Over
Yeah,
to you,
I,
Chris.
yeah, I think this is a very interesting kind of topic, where obviously the act of going to the loo is quite a private one, and this flips it on its head. And I don't know, I guess in some ways that's sort of the odd aspect of it. And then, obviously then you get the privacy once you've entered the space and you lock it, and then you get the privacy to do your business. Um, I actually investigated this material for the engineering school, and it takes energy to keep it clear. It's not it's not the other way. Like it requires energy to keep it clear, as opposed to um,
Opaque.
turning it opaque. Yeah, so it's reverse than what you actually imagine it to be. So every time you see the glass is clear for 90% of the time that the loos are clear, it's using energy. So it's not the most sustainable of things. I mean, but that's a very minor sort of detail.
So there's precedence for this. I think there's a toilet in France where it's not exactly the same thing. It's like you can, um, when you go in, you can see the outside, but you can't see inside from outside. Right? Have you guys seen that one? Um,
Oh,
so there is precedence for this, and that toilet was, of course, it was a piece of art more than anything else. I mean, it's a working public toilet, but that one got a lot of attention. Like that one got like a disproportionate amount of media attention because of its novelty. And it's like, oh, how am I going to feel like? What will the experience be of you know using a toilet where I can see outside and there's like some weird exhibitionist kind of thing, but that people on the outside can't see you. So there's like this thing, and it got a lot of public attention. So this, to me, like it doesn't look for me. It doesn't look amazing. It looks like if I didn't know about the context and the walls being able to change colors, um, then for me the design doesn't really do much. It looks like a kind of a budget constrained, um, series of boxes. Nothing. It's not bad, but it's nothing that I would point to and be like, "Wow, that's amazing." The interesting part is the ability for it to, I guess, change colors and turn from transparent to opaque. Um, and if I was around it, I would definitely go pay a visit just because I'm a designer, um, and I'd like to experience that. But again, for me, because of the other one that already exists in France, if this the concept is less powerful, personally.
yeah, I think, look, for me, I personally think they're quite interesting. If you look at public toilets anywhere, right, they're generally these kind of quite, I mean, most of them around New Zealand, they're always like these dark and dingy kind of spaces where you go down into like this corner of a building, and then you've got some toilets there, or I don't know. They always have a certain characteristic or a spatial quality about them, and I think this really flips it on its head, and that's what makes it really interesting for me. I think the switching of the translucent to clear, yeah, look, I think that's cool. But for me, what's more interesting is sort of how it changes the typology of your typical public toilet into something that's a little bit more interesting, I guess, and that is actually quite a valid concern in terms of what's said there about you actually worried about the state of the public toilet before you enter it. Like that is the number one thing that everyone is always curious about. Like without you actually having to go in, and then you get this surprise, and then when you do actually come into like one that's quite tidy and neat, you're like, oh, this is actually a really nice experience, but every now and then it's like a lottery, right? You never know. And it also makes people socially responsible in some way. Like, as soon as you leave that place, like if you've left it in an absolute state, then, it makes you somewhat responsible. So I feel like there are benefits to having this approach. So, no, I personally think they're pretty cool. And the fact that they're in a park and you're in a playground and they're these colorful objects, I think it adds to it rather than them being these green cubicles that you walk into and they're all dark and dingy. So credit where it's due.
I get that. I would be especially interested to know about if people actually are more conscious about the state that they leave the toilet in afterwards, and also it's kind of like clearly they didn't try to hide this thing. They put it right in the middle of this park, and they've used quality materials and things like that. So because of the respect that they've put into designing it, would the people that use it have this like carry that forward? That's really interesting. But the other thing that's kind of a deal breaker for me is that when it's opaque, you can still kind of make out the insides. So if I was sitting down on the toilet, you wouldn't know that it was me, but you would know that someone, is kind of using the toilet. And that might be because of the lights on the inside. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I gathered from this photograph. And that's why I think this for me scores high as an experiment and an artwork, but mostly an experiment over a functional thing that I think the world would be better if all toilets were like this kind of design.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hans. I think it is a little bit disconcerting that at night that you potentially could see the person in there using it. It's just a little bit odd, I guess.
I mean, but the oddness is kind of like.
Yeah, that's.
I guess like it'll be more difficult to have crimes happen.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I also like if people are doing drugs or whatever, I don't know, like all that sort of stuff, might mitigate that kind of thing. And I don't know. So.
What is that person doing? Why are there 3 people in that one? Are you seeing this?
Oh, God.